What Donald Trump needs, what I think many of us need, is therapy. There's obviously a mental health crisis in this country, and he finally has it, sort of, but it's chopper talk. It's not a professional that can actually help him to diagnose his problems. It's just him blurting everything out while the cameras are rolling, and we have to look to it and figure out what is actually going on with our country. I'm John Iadarola. I also need therapy. I'm going to look to a professional, though. I'm not just going to talk to reporters. So I don't generally watch Chopper Talk. It's insanity. I mean, the title talks of it talks about that basically. It's like gazing into the abyss, but the abyss has supreme political authority over our country. And so I want to read through just a few of the things that were said today. He touches on a lot of important pieces of news, not necessarily in ways that are productive, but we're going to go through like 12 different claims here. And by the way, in just a little bit, in like 40 minutes, the last damage report of the week is going to happen. Brett Ehrlich, host of Happy Half Hour, is going to be joining me. We're going to be talking about a number of different really interesting topics. So how the media reacted to Michael Bloomberg apparently announcing sort of that he's going to be running in the Democratic primary. Andrew Yang's first commercial has been aired. A man gets a really easy sentence for effectively enslaving a man for several decades. We've got a lot that we're going to be talking about, so you definitely want to stay tuned for that. But first, the Chopper Talk. Asked about his charity, which, if you don't know, he had to settle for $2 million for his Trump Foundation, effectively just serving to, like help his own interests. It wasn't really a charitable foundation. And so he settled, which is admitting wrong there. And on that, he said, my charity was great, which for you it was. That's the issue, is that it was really great for you. Thank you, Anton, for the birthday wishes. He went on to say, one of the reasons that people are leaving New York is that his charity was investigated while Hillary Clinton's wasn't. He shows that this proves New York is a corrupt state, which is just an amazing bit of sort of projection. It's a weird, like, admitting projection. So I forget who said it initially, but it's like if you like nobody can talk for ever without revealing themselves. It's, if you know the actual quote, feel free to put that there. But yeah, some people are better, some people are worse at not speaking in a way that they think is them talking about what's going on or what other people are thinking or what other people are doing, but really they're just talking about themselves. And so he literally just announced that he's no longer going to be living in New York. And so he says, other people are leaving because my charity got investigated. That you think that people are moving out of New York City because they think that people have been unfair to you. Nobody thinks that. Nobody would ever do that. A Trump supporter wouldn't do that. They wouldn't move out of the city because they're being unfair to you. He apparently did it. At least that's what he's projecting through that. So you got that. Let's see. There's a lot of this is going to be about the whistleblowers, the various bits of testimony and everything. So he says that the people who testified against him are never Trumpers. So that's not how that works. A never Trumper is a person who early on, when so many Republicans were bowing down to Donald Trump during the primary or during the general election, even though Donald Trump, using a lot of the normal calculuses for being a good Republican, just didn't qualify, they said that they would never support him. Some of them eventually did come around to supporting him, but some have not, to their credit, I guess, because it certainly has hurt them if they're in the media. That criticizing Trump now doesn't make you a never Trumper. Like, many of the people who are testifying served in his administration. Sondland, he gave him $1 million. Hey, Eminem. Gave him $1 million. The idea that he's a never Trumper when he helped to fund your inauguration is bizarre, but this is peak Trump. It's peak reality means whatever I want it to mean. If you criticize me now, even after financially supporting me and working in my employ, then you were always opposed to me and you're a big old meanie and I don't like you. He says that nobody who has testified has firsthand knowledge of what has happened. So people who have testified have not only been on the call, so had firsthand knowledge because it was their knowledge that they got from their earballs. They also worked on either your shadow diplomacy team. We've gotten quotes out of Rudy Giuliani on the news, but also Sondland testified he was the ambassador to the EU. He still is the ambassador to the EU. He was the one doing the stuff. So that's bizarre. Let's see. There was another one related to that. So on Sondland, and Sondland, I don't know if it's the most damning testimony, but it's definitely up there. He says on Sondland, I hardly know the gentleman. Other people are quoting him as having said, I hardly knew the gentleman. We're going to return to that in just 1 second. Joe Greer says, Washington needs money to fix the roads. I want to make bicyclists 18 and over pay a $10 tab fee a year or $100 for a lifetime. They use the road, they should pay for it too. Joe, I get what you're saying, but I mean, by paying taxes, the bicyclists are paying to fix the roads. And look, I don't generally commute by bicycle. There was a period where I did, but arguably they put less pressure on the roads. They do less damage to it. So they already pay taxes like anyone else does. Anyone who, like, uses a truck or whatever. I don't know why they would necessarily have to pay more, but I do appreciate the comment. So back to that. I hardly know the gentleman, whether it's know or knew. Okay, so here's the thing. Gordon Sondland is obviously a Republican, a conservative, a Trump supporter. He was the U.S. ambassador to the EU. Importantly, he's still the U.S. ambassador to the EU, who Trump chose, even though he now admits, I hardly knew him. So, best case scenario, Trump is being honest there. He doesn't know Sondland, but he chose him to become the ambassador to the EU because the dude gave him $1 million, and that's how ambassadors get chosen. That's best case scenario, which is scary. More likely, he's lying, because you might recall that he called him a good man, a great American, back when Sondland was seeming to support him in his testimony. Now that he is admitting that it was a quid pro quo, he hardly knows him, don't know him at all. And that's how it works. They all become coffee boys in the end. Even Rudy Giuliani might end up having been a barista all along if he ever turns on Donald Trump. So yeah, that's to say. He repeats again, he keeps saying that the whistleblower, as if there was only one, there's the original one, was highly inaccurate in his depiction of what would end up being in the transcript. That's not true. Most of what the whistleblower said turned out to be exactly true. And it doesn't matter because we got a million other people who are talking about what was said on that phone call, what was done in relation to Ukraine. I mean, look, yesterday, and one of my main things in media is trying to make sure that we don't move on too quickly from important issues, that we don't forget about the things that have happened. But even I will. Let's not forget that yesterday we found out that multiple senators had knew that it was explicitly Donald Trump that was holding up the aid, that the aid was being explicitly held up because they wanted the Ukrainian president to announce that he was investigating Joe Biden, and that, in fact, he had actually scheduled an interview with Fareed Zakaria on CNN for a particular date. Let's not pretend that all of that isn't true, but he says that it was really inaccurate. He says that the reason he knows it was inaccurate is that Mark Levin said that it was inaccurate. That's not going to convince anyone. And wait, you were on the call. Why do you need Mark Levin to say that it was inaccurate? That's really weird. Jumping to another issue for just 1 second, he says that China wants a deal more than he does on tariffs, but it's fine to keep it the way it is because China's paying billions over the tariffs, even though China's not paying the tariffs. We're paying the tariffs. And it's scary to live in a country where, like, there's a lot that we don't agree on. There's a lot that we will never agree on. But if we can't get him to bow down under the indisputable fact that Americans pay those added costs when you put tariffs on those products, the idea that we are ever going to be able to work together is hard to conceive of at this time. So let's see. Really fun one. There's a couple of standout comments on this. One of my favorites was, he said, quote, the whistleblower and his lawyer who said the worst things possible 2 years ago, he should be sued, and maybe for treason, but he should be sued. You don't sue people for treason. That's weird. Treason's like really serious, man. It's not just like you get like $100,000 from the guy for committing treason against you. Treason's not about you. It's about the country. Anyway, that's really weird. So the lawyer for the whistleblower apparently a couple of years ago tweeted that he didn't like Donald Trump or something. And that's, what is that supposed to? They think that means something. They think that, like, if you can identify that somebody working in the FBI or the DOJ or a lawyer for someone, if they ever had a political opinion, then they should be disqualified. Now, that's not actually what they're saying. That's somewhat objective. It just implies political opinions. No, what they actually mean is that if they can identify that somebody ever didn't like Donald Trump or Republicans, that they should be eliminated, which a lot of people, I think, don't think about very much. And they think, well, yeah, I mean, shouldn't they be unbiased? Here's the thing. If you could go your entire adult life and end up as a 50-year-old employee of the State Department and not have a preference politically or any sort of policy goals that you personally would like to see, then you're a weird Zuckerbergian robot. Nobody's actually like that. Everybody in the FBI, everybody in the DOJ leans right or left. They simply do. They're adults who pay attention to politics all day long. It is weird to think that they would not. That's not the way it works. And the lawyer for the whistleblower having political opinions, disqualifying the facts of what the actual whistleblower said, that doesn't make any sense. If we're judging people based on the political bias of their lawyers, Donald Trump, Giuliani's your lawyer. I think that guy has a bias, actually, so maybe you should step down from the presidency. This is all nonsense. It's all stupid. But very convincing for the Breitbart crowd, I have noticed. Now, jumping to another issue, Jeff Sessions announces that he is going to be running for Senate once again in Alabama. Now, he was one of the earliest defenders and supporters of Donald Trump, stood by him for a very long time, even as Trump attacked him over and over again. So you might think, well, if anyone has paid his dues for the Trump crowd, it is definitely Jeff Sessions, but not necessarily, because remember, he didn't protect Donald Trump from the investigation for Robert Mueller. He was supposed to completely, forget his obligation to the people, the Constitution, his oath of office, and all of that, and just fire everybody. That's what he was supposed to do. But it doesn't really matter that Donald Trump thinks that. It's that he has convinced many of his supporters to think that. And Jeff Sessions will need those supporters if he is to win. Now, I think going into it, he has a very good chance. He's a known quantity. He'll raise a bunch of money, whatever. But Trump isn't so sure if he's going to endorse him. He said, I haven't gotten involved. He said very nice things about me last night, but we'll have to see. I haven't made a determination. Again, that is him revealing himself, because what he wants is people to say nice things about him. It's really as simple as that. It's like a child. He just wants to hear nice things, I guess. But especially he wants to say in front of the cameras that this person said nice things about me, because it's that external locus of self-esteem. It's, I don't know my own value. I can't determine my own value. So I will simply tell you that I'm really great and imply that other people like me. So in a little bit, he's going to say that Rush Limbaugh said that no one else could have done what I did. Now, nobody cares what Rush Limbaugh actually thinks, but he hopes that you care what Rush Limbaugh thinks. As much as he doesn't like Jeff Sessions was a senator, and so he hopes that you respect Jeff Sessions enough to trust what Jeff Sessions said about Trump. So Jeff Sessions made this video. Joe Scarborough described it as a hostage tape where he said nice things about Trump and said that effectively he's been a better ex-Trumper than some of the other people who've left the administration. And that is actually much savvier than it seems. Now, objectively, it's pathetic. But to get Donald Trump to support you, all you need to do is say really nice things about him. That's honestly the biggest thing. And isn't it weird that we've ended up at a place politically where to become a senator once again in Alabama, what you need is a reality star from New York to say that you're cool. But that is actually what needs to happen. Will he end up supporting him? I would guess so. But not because he has the best chance of winning or he would support his agenda the most. It's because he will continue to say nice things about Donald Trump. So I did see the super chat about the road tax. Let's see. Joe Greer. They don't have let's see, tax tab fees pay for the roads for the most part. We need money to fix the roads. Bikes make less damage to the roads. That's why they only pay a low $10 tab fee. Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds fine. And you might be able to get a lot of people to support that. But why in particular the bicyclists? Like, if it's a big issue, maybe there should be, I don't know. Why so much focus on the bicyclists? I'm not a bicyclist. It's not that I have like a dog in the fight or anything. TYT team want to visit Magic Castle. Let me know. Is that the LA based, magic thing? I haven't been there, but I believe my partner has, and I believe it was referenced on, Arrested Development, correct? That actually sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. Okay, so referencing the really important story we talked about last week, which had to do with Bill Barr, or last night, I should say, or yesterday, where Donald Trump apparently asked Bill Barr to have a press conference to say that they had looked into it and Donald Trump hadn't done anything wrong. He said, "I never spoke to them about anything except for Bill Barr. Bill Barr can do whatever he wants to do." Well, that's not actually denying the charges. The charges are that you requested that the AG say that you're cool and you didn't do anything. You saying, "I never spoke to any of them except for Bill Barr," that doesn't answer our concerns. And Bill Barr can do whatever he wants to do is the sort of thing that you'd say if you asked him to do something and he didn't do it. He says, "I never asked him for a press conference." So that is which seems like a denial, but is immediately followed up by, "And if I asked Bill Barr to have a press conference, I think he'd do it. But I never asked him to have a press conference. Why should I? You know why I wouldn't do it? Because the phone call was perfect." And so that's the sort of thing where it's like you've been accused of murder, and most normal people would say, "No, obviously I didn't kill that person." But Trump has to say, "No, I didn't kill that person. But like, if I wanted to kill that person, I could totally kill that person. Like, I could easily kill that person. I've thought about it a lot, and I could totally kill that person. And if I killed that person, it would be totally cool. Like, it wouldn't be against the law or anything because I'm president, so I could kill the person." Any follow-up questions? It's really weird. I don't know why. Yeah, it's like the OJ book that came out. And last week, Brett and I did a video where the Daily Beast said that he had heard this defense of him that he was too stupid to do a quid pro quo, and he knee-jerk responded by saying, "No, I could totally, if I wanted to, I could do a quid pro quo. I'm smart enough. I could commit those crimes." It's really weird. But anyway, my favorite quote of all of this was Trump saying, we have the Rush Limbaugh said he doesn't know a man in the world that could have done what Trump did. It's 2019. I don't think that you're going to be winning over a bunch of new people by saying that Rush Limbaugh thinks that you're good. And by the way, can you imagine if in a couple of years Bernie Sanders is president? And Bernie Sanders is getting a lot of criticism from the media, which, by the way, he totally will, constantly. And Bernie Sanders came out and did a press conference and said, "You know, the economy's doing really well. John Iadarola said that nobody else could do it like I've done it." That would be pathetic. Like, I would be thrilled, obviously, that I'd been mentioned by the president, but then I'd be like, wait, why does he care what I think that much? And like, he thinks that he's going to persuade his political opponents and critics to support him because of what I think? Let's hope that we don't end up in that place as a country. But the best quote of the whole Chopper Talk was, "So I think in light of all of the things going on, and you know what I mean by that, the fake news, the Comeys of the world, all of the bad things that went on, it's called the swamp. You know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all." I think he's been watching cartoons again. But anyway, nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. That's the sort of thing that you say to yourself, like, as you're holed up in your mansion with your enemies coming to kill you. Like, the delusional ramblings of a person on the edge. What do you mean you caught all of the swamp? And it's this weird, like, you really do need doublethink. Like, I know that everybody says that their opponents are Orwellian, but that's really what's going on here. Yesterday, he said, I think it was about Alabama, I'm not sure. He did a rally and said that Alabama has been screwed over by the Democrats, and that's why its economy is a mess. On the same day that the White House put out a statement that Alabama's economy is doing amazing because of the leadership of Donald Trump. So which is it? Like, are they doing great because you're great, or are they doing terrible because your enemies are terrible? I mean, it can't be both. They're either doing well or they're not. And if you say constantly that you're being hounded by all of these corrupt individuals, that's why things aren't seeming to go well for you, but then you also say that you already caught all of them, you defeated all of them, I mean, which is it at some point? Like, what does catching the swamp mean at that point? But the thing is, it doesn't matter to analyze it at this level. His supporters can do both. They can believe that Alabama's economy is awesome because of Trump and terrible because of the Democrats simultaneously at the exact same time. It's great and terrible depending on who we're talking about. And the swamp and the deep state and the establishment is this horrible thing that's hounding Donald Trump. And at the same time, he's already beaten all of them because he's great, of course. I mean, that's the QAnon thing, right? It's like people who hate that Trump is being attacked, but also believe that he's secretly controlling Robert Mueller to root out all of his enemies. It's like, conspiracy theories aren't enough. You need the conspiracy theory where everything simultaneously is exactly the way that you'd want it to be. And it's one thing for a small number of people online, which, as much as, I hate seeing on Twitter and the articles by the QAnon people, it's still a very small percentage of the population. But Donald Trump is the one saying it during what amount to press conferences. The best press conference that we're going to get these days is Chopper Talk. So as much as I do these segments as sort of just like having fun and like joking around about a couple of his comments, that is what we have in terms of being able to ask the president what he thinks and getting him to clarify positions, to put himself on the record when it comes to scandals. This is all we have. And it's nonsense. It's like I said in the beginning, it's this weird form of self-help or wellness where he just says crazy things and enjoys it, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, we now have less than 20 minutes, so if you have any last-minute questions, feel free to throw them in there. But I know I got to get ready with Brett to do the show, a little bit more production to do. When is the turtle going to be voted out of office, man? I really hope soon. That would be really awesome. So Trump is Nyarlathotep. Just a dumb cultist, I think. John, are you going to cover ABC burying the Epstein story 3 years ago? So I considered it. The thing is, I mean, I guess it adds something that you can like put a particular like media corporation on it, but like so many people buried it for so long, and we did a lot of stories about that. So I felt like I needed to cover it less because I felt like we had already mined that territory quite a bit. But it's certainly a possibility. I mean, basically everybody fumbled on that story. Everybody either didn't care enough or believed what they were being told or fought to protect a wealthy, politically influential person. Thank you, Mike, for the birthday wishes. That's very nice of you. Hey, wasn't there supposed to be a State of the Union this week? Yeah, State of the Union is Chopper Talk now. What do you think? What portion of Trump's internet base do you think is comprised of astroturfs? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of bots online. I don't go to his subreddit or anything. What's your favorite Ticket to Ride game? Classic USA map or any other version like Europe, New York? So I've only played USA and Europe. I like Europe, except I don't know the cities as well, so it's a little bit more difficult. So America's really simple. I would like to play some of the other ones. I'd especially like to play some two-player ones because my fiance and I like to play it, but the USA map is really big for 2 players. Whoa, wait, hold on. So, the semi-carbazide says, John, are you going to cover the runaway deficit that Trump caused? Last weekend, we put out a big story about the deficit and the national debt and how he had promised to clear those up and had not made good on his promises. So you go back and watch that. It was his promises come back to haunt him or something like that is the title on YouTube. What are your top 3 sources that you get your news from? Well, I mean, it depends on the sort of news. For like, like inside the White House breaking news or whatever, it's going to be like the New York Times, the Washington Post, that sort of thing. But that's not where I get a lot of my news from. And I really can't summarize it down to just 3. I mean, there's so many places. I have some RSS feeds that are just bursting at the seams with a bunch of different places. Can you cover the Khashoggi Kushner story? Yes, that is definitely something I would like to get to. Obviously, we've talked a lot about Khashoggi over the last year. Okay, we only have 15 minutes. Hold on. Someone said, are you going to get Outer Worlds? I do have Outer Worlds. I do plan on playing it. I am getting married in a couple of weeks, so I have not had a lot of time to play video games, unfortunately. Like, I'd really like to try Death Stranding, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to, because when am I supposed to do it? I'm also trying to write and stuff. There's, like, no free time, unfortunately. Okay. I do have to run, though, because we got less than 15 minutes, but it is going to be an awesome show. It's a packed show. Brett is going to be joining me, so you know it's going to be fun. Like I said, we're going to be talking about Bloomberg entering the race, Andrew Yang's first TV commercial. We've got maybe one of the worst people in America finally going to jail. So there's a lot of fun, and you can see that live in like 15 minutes. So thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys soon.